Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to the webinar on European Research Council grants for top researchers from anywhere in the world, brought to you by EURAXESS Australia and New Zealand and the European Research Council. First of all, please allow me to introduce to you two esteemed guest speakers for today. Joining us from Brussels, European Research Council scientific officers Lucia Rubio Fernandez and David Innocenti. And I am Nishant Sandilya, Regional Representative for EURAXESS Australia and New Zealand. For those who have joined our webinar for the first time, EURAXESS is an initiative of the European Commission that addresses barriers to the mobility of researchers and seeks to enhance scientific collaboration between Europe and the rest of the world. We provide free information about European research, career opportunities, international collaboration, and networking possibilities. Since all of you are watching this on your laptop or phone, I'll encourage you to type EURAXESS Australia and New Zealand on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook and follow us there. We try to bring relevant news and events on a timely and regular basis. Moving on to today's session, just to give you the running order, Lucia will be elaborating on ERC funding opportunities with focus on starting grants, while David will provide you an overview of the ERC's implementing arrangements with Australia. I'd like to encourage all of you to please use the chat function in the interface to ask any questions that you might have while our speakers are presenting. Once both the presentations are done, we'll come back to take your questions. Please note that the recording and the slides of the session will be provided to you. The recording will not include the Q&A, and hence I will recommend you to stay for the entire duration if you want our experts to address the common queries that applicants have. Before we move to the first presentation, let's do a very brief exercise. A poll will appear on your screen, and we just want to understand how many PIs from Australia and New Zealand have received an ERC grant. You have 4 options: less than 25, 25 to 50, 51 to 75, and more than 75. I can see that around 38% have voted. I'll still give you 5 more seconds so that all of you can vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'll close the poll right now. And I can see that it's a very interesting observation that we have seen. 40% think that it's less than 25, 32% think that it's 25 to 50, 15% think that 51 to 75, while 14% think that it's more than 75. And the minority actually are correct, because currently in total, there are 82 PIs who have received grant from Australia and New Zealand, of which 59 are from Australia and 23 are from New Zealand. Of course, this is one of the trivia that I picked from Lucia's presentation. So of course, you'll hear more about these facts and numbers from Lucia. So without further ado, let's move on to the first presentation of the session. Lucia, I'll now give you the presenter's right so that you can start sharing your screen.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so thank you, Nishant, and thank you, everybody. Welcome to this webinar about the ERC grants for top researchers from anywhere in the world, particularly you in Australia, New Zealand. Thank you for joining at this late hour for you. It's early morning here in Brussels. My name is Lucia Rubio Fernandez, and I am a scientific officer in the Life Sciences unit in the ERC. And I have put here my email address in case there are any questions that we don't have time to address, or you have any new questions, don't hesitate to drop me a line any minute. So let's start with the basics. Where is the ERC? So you might know that the European Commission is divided in different directorate generals, one of them being the Directorate Research and Innovation, also known as DG RTD, and one of its executive agencies is the European Research Council. So what is the ERC? It is funding, that you know, that's why you're here. Right now we are part of Horizon 2020. this wheel here is how the budget of Horizon 2020 was divided, and this orange 17% is the budget dedicated to the ERC, which corresponds to 13 billion euros. So here you can see how the budget of the ERC has been increasing since it was created in 2007. So in yellow, you see the previous framework program, FP7, and in orange, these 13 billion that we had during Horizon 2020. And from next year, we will have a new framework program, Horizon Europe, and negotiations are still ongoing on how to divide that budget. It's going to go from 2021 until 2027. What is the ERC? Of course, is our scientific council. So here you have these 22 prominent researchers that they are appointed by the Commission, and their role is to establish the overall scientific strategy. They control the quality of our operations and our management, and of course, they communicate with you, the scientific community. Right now, our president is Jean-Pierre Bourguignon. We are going to start the process to select the next president. And their next, also last but not least of the roles, is they nominate our panel members. The panel members are the experts in all the fields that will independently carry out the evaluations. The ERC is also the executive agency. Here you can see all our hierarchy, all our heads of unit in pre-COVID times, obviously. And what do we do? So we implement the calls for proposals. We organize all the evaluations that they run smoothly. We establish and manage the grant agreements, administer the scientific and financial aspects, and we carry out the communication activities. So a scientific officer like me in the Life Sciences Department, my role is to interact with our panel members, make sure the evaluations happen without problems, smoothly and according to our standards. And once the projects are funded, I also carry out the scientific follow-up. So some numbers so that you get an idea of how well the ERC has been doing since its creation in 2007. We have funded more than 10,500 projects to grantees from 82 nationalities that have been hosted in 32 different countries from the EU and associated countries. We have more than 125,000 publications reported, more than 1,300 prestigious prizes like field medals or Nobel Prizes and so on. And these grantees have hired more than 75,000 professionals in their teams. So if there is a message I want you to take home, is this one. The ERC is all about the excellence, is our only evaluation criterion. Excellence irrespective of age, nationality, and gender. So it is about the excellence of your research project. So it has to be groundbreaking, it has to have a potential impact, it has to have a great scientific approach. So we don't fund incremental research. We fund frontier research. This includes the blue sky, the curiosity-driven research, and also applied. Also, your excellence, the excellence of the principal investigator. It's about your intellectual capacity, your creativity, and your commitment. Please do not worry too much about your publication record. It's people that focuses on this, but it's not decisive in the selection process. You will be evaluated according to accomplishments you have achieved, according to your seniority, and you have to give an evidence of your capacity to carry out the research you're proposing. So if you have a great idea and you're the best person to carry out, just apply. For example, you will be requested, depending on your stage of your career, to have one paper or several papers without your PhD supervisor. But they don't have to be in Nature or in Cell or in super top journals. Last but not least, the host institution is not an evaluation criteria. This is because the grants are portable So if you select a host institution in Europe or in an associated country, and then you're not happy there, or you find better conditions elsewhere, you can take your grant and go to a different host institution. So this cannot be an evaluation criterion and is not taken into account in the evaluation. So some details about our grants. These are the three main calls we offer. They are all for a duration up to 5 years, and we have divided them according to the stage in the researcher's career. So we have the starting grant with a grant of up to 1.5 million, and it's for people that have completed their PhD 2 to 7 years ago. Consolidator grant, the size of the grant is up to 2 million, and it's for people who completed their PhD 7 to 12 years ago. And finally, for the most senior advanced grant, it's 2.5 million euros, and is for people that went beyond that time window of 12 years. So some comments here, you see in all of them that you have a plus up to 1 million. This is the extra funds you can ask, you can request if you need access to main facilities, or if you're gonna buy major equipment. And just a point, you have these eligibility windows, the 2 to 7 years for starting grants and 7 to 12 years for consolidator. These can be extended for if you have taken a break in your career, if you had children. Maternity leave allows you for 18 months per child, whether you had it before or after the PhD, doesn't matter. Paternity leave as long as you took your leave. Military service, medical training up to 4 years. And there is no limit on how long this time window can be extended. So just that on the eligibility window. And we also have these two special calls. Synergy grant, this is not only for one PI, it's between 2 and 4 researchers that will carry out one project all together. They can be in the same host institution or in different host institutions in different countries. One of them can actually be outside of Europe or associated country. The duration is up to 6 years, and the size of the grant is 10 million, and the extra you can request is 4 million euros. And last but not least, our proof of concept. This is special because it's only for the ERC grantees. So it is a lump sum of 150,000 euros for a duration of 18 months. And the idea is that if you had some great findings in your main ERC project that have some innovation potential or significant economic and societal benefits, the idea is to be able to exploit them. So some basics here to set the record straight. The budget of every year is distributed among all our panels as a function of demand. So the more people apply to one panel, the more money that panel will have to give grants. These allow us to have a success rate flat across all the panels. So if you've been told to better apply to a panel that is a bit off your goals, your aims, but that panel has more chances to give grants, that's a lie. The more people apply to a panel, the more grants they will give. So apply to the panel that suits the best for your proposal. Something I really like is this graph. Our success rate is also virtually flat across the eligibility window. So here, let me walk you through this graph. You see our 3 grants. So in green, the starting grant, in yellow, the consolidator, and in blue, the advance for last year called 2019. And in purple, the success rate by age of the applicant on 1st of January. And you can see that is more or less flat across the whole each eligibility window. So if you are ready, if your idea is mature enough and you're the one to carry it out, apply. Don't wait till the last year of the eligibility window, because it is you might get, if you don't get a grant, you might get very good criticisms that would help you to improve your grant, your application. And something I really like about this graph as well is that it shows how the ERC invests in the young researchers. 2/3 of our grants go to early stage researchers. So what do we have for you? We want to attract excellent researchers to Europe. and we want to make it as easy for you as possible. So if you're moving to Europe or an associated country, basically to the European research area, you have additional 1 million euro to start up, to move to Europe. You can keep your affiliation with your home institute outside of Europe, but remember that you need to spend at least 50% of your work time in Europe. Your team members can be based outside of Europe, and you can, as I said, the grant is portable, so you can move within Europe, of course, with your grant. So if you're not happy in the host institution you've chosen for whatever reason, or you find better conditions elsewhere, you can take your grant and change place. I put here a link that with more information that might help you. So, as I said at the very beginning, the negotiations for the next framework program for Horizon Europe are ongoing now. So we don't have yet the work program for next year, but these are the months where you can expect the calls from opening and the submission deadlines for starting consolidator, advanced, and proof of concept. Note that next year there will be no synergy grant. Our panels. So this is how our panels are divided. We have 3 domains: life sciences, social sciences and humanities, and physical sciences and engineering. In red here, the 2 new ones that have been updated this year for next work program. And also some descriptors in the life sciences panels have been updated. Don't let this fool you. Our panel descriptors do not represent our scientific priorities. It's just a way to organize the evaluations, basically. Our process is totally bottom up. You decide how you build your project. The more interdisciplinary, the better. But just apply to the panel that suits your project the best. Why? Because well, if your proposal is very interdisciplinary, you can also in your proposal indicate a secondary panel that would suit to evaluate your proposal. But also, as I was saying, some people think of applying to a different panel than the best one for them because they will have more chances to get more grants. And why is this a bad idea? Because as much as we try to always keep the best panel, your selected panel for the evaluation, sometimes this panel is not the one that has the best expertise to evaluate it, and therefore sometimes the panel chairs have to agree to transfer some proposals between one panel and the other. So just apply to the panel that suits your proposal the best. And now I'm gonna try to go very slowly on this slide because it's very juicy. It has a lot of information. So we have a single submission point and a 2-step evaluation. So let me start from the evaluation and go into the one single submission. So in the step 1, our panel members will evaluate the first part of your proposal, what we call this part B1. This includes your synopsis, the synopsis of your proposal, and your curriculum. So they will be acting as generalists and do this remotely, so from home. And when they all have done it, there's a panel meeting under normal condition in Brussels, otherwise in Zoom or another platform. And they get together and discuss what they think of all the proposals and come with a ranking list. So there will be the proposals rejected with a B or a C. The B means that there are some minor criticisms, that your proposal is good but not good enough to make it to step 2. And the C is that it has major criticisms. It still needs a lot of work on it. What does it translate to? It translates in some restrictions to reapply. If you get a B, you have to wait 1 year before you apply again. And if you get a C, you have to wait 2 years. There will be the lucky ones that make it to step 2. That is 3 times of the budget of the panel. And in the step 2 is slightly different. So the panel members will act as experts, not as generalists, and they will have access to your full proposal, so the synopsis, your CV again, and also the extended proposal, which is 15 pages. And they will also have the help of experts in the field, in your field, that we call remote reviewers. So in the remote phase, the panel members and the remote reviewers will be evaluating your proposal. Note that in your proposal, you can say up to 3 reviewers that you reject, that you don't want to review your proposal. So after this remote phase, again, a panel meeting of only the panel members, where they will put together all their ideas, all their thoughts, and the ones of the remote reviewers, and there will be an interview. What's new is that from next year onwards, advanced grants will also have interviews. And after this panel meeting, with the reviews from all the panel members, the remote reviewers, and the interviews, they come with the final rank list of proposals. There will be the A's, funded A's for the ones that were on top of the list and there were money for them, unfunded A's for the ones that would have been funded if there was money, or a B if there were still criticisms that need to be addressed. Anyhow, all the people that didn't get funded in step 2 can apply the year after. And now some numbers to show you that it can be done from Australia and New Zealand. So here, the nationalities of our grantees from outside the European research area. We have up to 47 nationalities from outside this area. So over 8% of all the ERC grants have principal investigators of non-European countries or associated countries. I have highlighted here the numbers that Nishant already mentioned. So 49 Australians for starting a consolidator and 17 from New Zealand. Advanced grants 10 from Australia and 6 from New Zealand. So it can be done. Do it, apply. And here, so the evaluated proposals from non-European countries for this framework program, so between 2014 and 2019, in yellow in starting, orange consolidator, blue advanced. Here you have Australia. So you see that the most applying is US and China, especially for starting grants. And there has been an increased participation to Horizon 2020 starting and consolidator grants from outside of Europe. You can see clearly since the ERC started, the trend is clearly upwards. In advanced grants, it's not so obvious. And here also a slide to show you the nationalities of the teams. So excluding the principal investigators, we have analyzed 1,900 starting and advanced grants, and we've seen that 71% of the team members is from the EU, 10% from associated countries, 17% from non-EU countries or associated countries, and unknown means that they didn't agree to disclose their nationality for the study. So in all the ERC grants, over 10,000 non-European research area team members have participated, mostly from China, US, India, and Russia. Last but not least, a clear example that it can be done. Dr. Adam Schembri from Australia last year got an advanced grant from a fantastic project where he studied the human language through a focus on the sign languages from deaf communities. And he's right now in the University of Birmingham. And I really strongly recommend that you click on this link for a great interview that EURAXESS did to him, where he explains not only his project, but also how he applied, how he went through it, and he gives some very good insights and tips. So I really found it very inspiring, that's the word. So I really recommend that you watch it. And with this, I give the floor to my colleague Davide. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lucia. Before we move on to David's presentation, I'll again put a small poll for all of you so that we understand. I'm sure you are sort of aware of what David is going to present about the implementing arrangements, but we want to understand in Australia specifically, which institution does the ERC have an implementing arrangement to support non-European researchers to visit ERC research team? Is it an HMRC, ERC, both or none? I can see that around 25% have voted. Still going to wait for maybe 5 more seconds so that it allows everyone to put their votes in. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I'll close the poll right now, and I can see that a lot of people know that the ERC has implementing arrangements with both NHMRC and ERC. So of course, who better to tell us than David on how exactly does these implementing arrangements work. So now I'll pass on the presenter rights to you, David, so that you could elaborate on this further.
Yes, thank you, and for joining us at this late this afternoon, this evening for you at this point. It's very early here in Brussels, but we are motivated to present you some opportunities that you have to join actually an ERC team here in Europe to collaborate with our ERC grantees. And for this reason, I will present you the implementing arrangements. So implementing arrangements, what is that? It's basically a mobility program, which started in 2012 with US signing the first agreement. And this agreement basically has at the aim to promote opportunities for scientists, early career scientists in particular, to visit and collaborate with ERC research team guided by an ERC grantee. Of course, always partially supported by foreign agencies. What does it mean? At this stage, we have 14 implementing arrangements already signed from 12 different countries. As you can see on the map, there are countries which host more than one agreement. This is because there is more than one agency in that country which is actually collaborating with ERC. As you can see, Australia has 2 of them, one signed in 2018, one in 2019. But we will talk about that later. Up to this point, more than 400 non-European researchers visited an ERC project. So now numbers are starting to be quite consistent. Last year, we had more, we actually had 100 scientists visiting different ERC projects. And then next year, this year, basically, we will launch our call at the end of middle November, especially because there are more countries willing to join, new agencies which would like to participate to the program. This is the list of the countries which are already participating. As you can see, Australia is participating with National Health and Medical Research Council and Australian Research Council, the ERC. These countries, this is basically how the ERC grantees reacted to this program. As you can see, we started in 2012 with US, and then going ahead, we had many countries joining. As you can see, Australia NHMRC joined in 2018, and this year, not this year, 2019, also ERC joined the program. And as you can see, the feedback given by our PIs is pretty positive in terms of numbers. They're really willing to host Australian researchers. And as you can see, the trend in general is actually very positive because we have more and more researchers willing to host. The only eligibility criteria we have for our ERC to participate is that they still need to have 18 months to go to the end of their project. This way, they will have enough time to arrange the visit with you, with potential applicants, and to perform the visit. How does it work? This could be difficult this time of the day for you, but it's very simple. So indeed, if you follow the color, ERC, basically us, we launch an internal call for expression of interest. As I told you, This typically happens at the end of October, November, and we basically open this call for 1 month. This way, our principal investigator, our ERC grantees, can express the interest into hosting a scientist supported by foreign funding agency. After that, we collect all the ERC grantees names and projects willing to participate, and we send this list to all the participating agencies. In this case, for example, ERC and HMRC. At that point, they will have to launch their internal call for eligible scientists. So scientists which are founded by these agencies and are eligible. At that point, after you have been contacted, you have to seek an agreement, to contact and seek an agreement with our ERC grantees. They can accept or not the visit. They will discuss with you, depending by scientific domain, if your topic research is really fitting well, and these kind of things. And then they will provide you a letter of support together with a letter of support of the host institution where you basically go and do the visit. At this point, your funding agency will evaluate the proposal you prepare in order to perform this visit. And finally, if your proposal is approved, you will have to discuss with the ERC grantees the modality and the timing of this visit. Basically, there are some processes and conditions which are common to all the projects, to all the agreements, basically. But there are also some small differences which are really depending by the agreement we have with your funding agency. But the most interesting one are these: the ERC, so us, we do not intervene in the communication between you and the ERC grantees. So it's up to you to communicate and find an agreement for the visit. The selection is done only by your funding agency. ERC is not involved at all in this selection process. And it's very important, of course, that these visits have to take place within the lifetime of the ERC project, since this will be used, the ERC project will be used to cover part of the costs. Of course, it is expected the collaboration will occur in similar areas of scientific pursuit or topics of mutual interest. In any case, this has to be discussed in advance with the ERC grantees. And you will have the chance to be incorporated in the research team of the ERC grantees for the period of the visit. Where you can find more information. So you can use the link you see below. There, basically, you have access to all the agreements with all the countries. So you will be able to read details about that. But please do not hesitate to contact us at our functional mailbox. I am the person behind this functional mailbox, so in principle, you already know me, so you can really ask for information for whatever. We will be very happy to help you and provide support and information in collaboration with your funding agency. Thank you very much. I hope I will receive very soon news from you.
Please join me in thanking our speakers for today, Lucia and David. I'm sure our audience got a lot of useful insights from both of you. And we are optimistic that there will be an increased number of applications for ERC grants from the region in 2021. I think,
thank you very much.
As mentioned earlier, thank you very much for tuning into our webinar. Do keep an eye on our social media platforms to get notified of such informative webinars in the future. With that, we come to an end of today's session, and signing off for today and wishing you a good week ahead. Thank you very much for joining in once again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.